I'm Yuhei.
I'm Kazaho.
I'm Hiroko.
Mr. Twit was a 5-year-old man. Mrs. Twit was no better. One morning, when Mr. Twit wasn't looking, she took out her glass eye and dropped it into Mr. Twit's beer. Mr. Twit sat slowly drinking the beer. He was trying to think up a really nasty stick he could play on his wife.
You are plotting something,
said Mrs. Twit, keeping her back turned so he wouldn't see she had taken out her glass eye.
You'd better be careful, because I'm watching you like a wombat.
Oh, shut up, you old hag,
said Mr. Twit. As he tipped down the last of the beer, he saw the glass eye staring at him.
I told you I was watching you. I've got eyes everywhere.
To pay Mrs. Twit back for the glass eye in his beer, Mr. Twit slipped a frog between her bed sheets. Then he got in his own bed and waited for the fun to begin. Mrs. Twit climbed into bed and put out the light.
There is something in my bed.
I'll bet it's that giant scale figure I saw on the floor. I tried to kill it, but it got away. It's got teeth like screwdrivers.
Help! Save me! It's all over my feet.
It'll bite off your toes.
Mrs. Twit fainted. Mr. Twit poured a jug of cold water over her head to revive her. When Mrs. Twit came to, the frog had just jumped on her face.
Wait a minute. That's a frog.
The next day, to pay Mr. Twit back for the frog, Mrs. Twit put some worms in her husband's plate of spaghetti. The worm didn't show because everything was covered with tomato sauce and sprinkled with cheese.
Hey, my spaghetti is moving.
It's a new kind. It's called squiggy spaghetti. It's delicious.
She took a mouthful from her own plate, which of course had no worms. Mr. Twit started eating.
It's not as good as the ordinary kind. It's too squishy.
Mrs. Twit waited till Mr. Twit had eaten the wild fried food.
Do you want to know why your spaghetti was squishy?
Why?
Because it was worms.
To pay Mrs. Twit back for the worm in the spaghetti, Mr. Twit thought up a really clever nasty trick. One night, when the old woman was asleep, he crept out of the bed and took her walking stick downstairs to the workshed. There he stuck a tiny round piece of wood, no thicker than a penny, onto the bottom of the stick. This made the stick longer, but the difference was so small the next morning Mrs. Twit didn't notice it. Every night after that, Mr. Twit crept downstairs and added another tiny thickness of wood to the end of the walking stick. He did it very nasty, so that the extra bits looked like part of the old stick.
Gradually, oh so gradually, Mrs. Twit's working stick was getting longer and longer, but it was all so slow and gradual that she didn't notice how long it was getting. Even when it was halfway up to her shoulder.
One day Mr. Twit said to her,
That stick's too long for you.
Why, so it is. I've had a feeling there was something wrong, but I couldn't for the life of me think what it was.
There's something wrong, all right.
What could have happened? It must have suddenly grown longer.
Don't be a fool. How can a walking stick grow longer? It's made of dead wood, isn't it? Dead wood can't grow.
Then what on earth has happened?
It's not the stick, it's you. It's you that getting shorter. I've been noticing it for some time.
That's not true.
You're shrinking, woman.
It's not possible.
Oh, yes, it is. You are shrinking fast. You're shrinking dangerously fast. Why, you must have shrunk at least a foot in the last few days.
Never.
Of course you have. Take a look at your stick, you old goat, and see how much you've shrunk. You've got the shrinks. That's what you've got. You've got the dreaded shrinks.
Mrs. Tweed began to feel so trembly she had to sit down. But when she did, Mr. Tweed pointed and shouted.
There you have it. You're sitting in your old chair, and you've shrunk so much. Your feet aren't even touching the ground.
Mrs. Tweed looked down at her feet, and sure enough, she man was right. You see, every night when Mr. Tweed had stuck a little bit extra onto the stick, he had done the same thing to the leg of Mrs. Tweed's chair.
Just look at you sitting in your same old chair, and you've shrunk so much. Your feet are dangling in the air.
Mrs. Tweed went white with fear.
You've got the shrinks. You've got them, but you've got the most terrible case of shrinks I've ever seen.
Mrs. Tweed grew so frightened she began to tremble. But Mr. Tweed, still remembering the worm in his spaghetti, didn't feel sorry for her at all.
I suppose you know what happens to you when you get shrinks.
What? What happens?
Your head shrinks into your neck, and your neck shrinks into your body, and your body shrinks into your legs, and your legs shrink into your feet. And in the end, there's nothing left but a pair of shoes and a bundle of old clothes.
I can't bear it.
It's a terrible disease, the worst in the world.
How long have I got? How long before I end up as a bundle of old clothes and a pair of shoes?
At the rate you are going, I'd say not more than 10 or 11 days.
But isn't there anything we can do?
There's only one cure for the shrinks.
Tell me, oh tell me quickly.
We'll have hurry.
I'm ready, I'll hurry. I'll do anything you say.
You won't last long if you don't.
What is it I must do?
You've got to be stretched.
Mr. Tweed led Mrs. Tweed outdoors, where he had everything ready for the great stretching. There were 100 balloons and lots of string. There was a gas cylinder for filling the balloons. There was an iron ring fixed into the ground. He pointed to it and said,
Stand here.
He tied Mrs. Tweed's ankle to the iron ring. When that was done, he began filling the balloons with gas. Each balloon was on a long string, and when it was filled with gas, it pulled on its string, trying to go up and up. Mr. Twist tied the end of the string to the top half of Mrs. Tweed. Some he tied around her neck, some under her arms, some to her wrists, and some even to her hair. Soon there was 50 colored balloons floating in the the air above Mrs. Twit's head.
Can you feel them stretching you?
I can! They're stretching me like mad.
He put on another 10 balloons. The upward pull became very strong. Mrs. Twit was quite helpless now, with her feet tied to the ground and her arms pulled upward by balloons. She was unable to move. She was a prisoner. Mr. Twit had intended to go away and leave her like that for a couple of days and nights to teach her a lesson. In fact, he was just about to leave when Mrs. Twit opened her big mouth and said something foolish.
Are you sure my feet are tied properly to the ground? If those strings around my ankle break, it's goodbye for me.
And that's what gave Mr. Twit his second nasty idea.